Hi, Rhonda, and welcome to today's CollaborEATs with my collaborative team. It is wonderful, as always, to see you and to have the opportunity to interview you. My collaborative team's CollaborEAT Live provides digestible content to both professionals and the public on a variety of topics relating to the collaborative process. Episodes consist of a variety of topics driven by our followers and our members. Topics range from ethical considerations, best practices, problem solving, marketing, specialized topics relating to collaborative practice, practice tools, and so much more. CollaborEAT Live provides thought-provoking conversation and educational information about the collaborative process. We are fortunate today to have Dr. Ronda Fuchs. Ronda is a licensed psychologist, collaborative divorce neutral facilitator, qualified parent coordinator, guardian ad litem, and a Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator. Dr. Fuchs, who has been in private practice in Miami Beach for the past 22 years, treats individuals, couples, and families for issues like marital conflict, of which we see much, divorce, depression, anxiety, stress, and anger management, as well as interpersonal relationships, parenting challenges, and grief counseling. Her passion is to help families with the emotional stressors accompanying divorce through individual and family therapy during or after divorce, and by serving as a neutral facilitator in the collaborative divorce process and educating the public about collaborative divorce. Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you very much, Becky.
So I have had the privilege of working with you on a program about trauma in the divorce process. What are some of the common traumas that you see in divorce?
Yeah, well, there are many. And trauma being not just domestic violence. So we're not going to focus on domestic violence. That usually heightens any trauma that somebody is experiencing in the process of divorce. But the biggest trauma is loss. And there are so many losses that the family, or the clients themselves, the family, the children, everybody involved go through. It could be from an infidelity to having to move, to now sharing your children half time, where you obviously are with them 100% of the time. Financial traumas are something we see a lot of.
And do you find that trauma that people have experienced in other settings in their lives is magnetized when they're going through divorce?
Sure, and it depends on the trauma, but they can definitely be triggered. It's such a painful process, even though in the collaborative process, we try to do it with as much sensitivity and empathy as we can, but it's still such a painful process. So if they've been through a significant loss in their life, let's say, they're going to be triggered when they're going through this loss. If they've been through some kind of financial trauma in their life, they're going to be triggered now with this financial trauma. And if there was domestic violence in their past, any kind of abuse, certainly there will be some triggers that come in again, now re-experiencing this trauma.
We hear the term narcissist thrown around a lot. When you hear that come up, my spouse is a narcissist, what kind of trauma is associated with what a spouse perceives to be narcissistic behavior by their spouse?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hear that. I've been in practice like over 23 years. I've never heard that more, except when I entered the world of divorce and the collaborative process. And sometimes it's true, and sometimes it's just how the spouse views the narcissist. I think what comes up the most there is power and control. And so that the spouse that feels he or she is married to a narcissist doesn't feel that they've had any power. They feel they are controlled. They don't have a say. And so in now getting divorced, they really need their voice, but they've never had one being married to this type of individual. And we help them with that actually in the collaborative process. We help give our clients, both our clients, a voice.
I was just going to ask you, how does that play out in the collaborative process?
Yeah, I think we, especially having a mental health professional as a facilitator on the team, can really read that dynamic, and understanding that dynamic can then help the team understand. And sometimes there's the team has to intervene by making sure the client who feels less control than the spouse who he or she may think is a narcissist, we have to help them have a voice. I once had a client that after a parenting plan meeting in which she agreed with everything early in my practice, and I get in the car and she calls me back and says, I don't agree with anything. I said, well, then why'd you agree in the meeting? She said, because I couldn't say no. So that's just an example, but we really have to help them have a voice.
Do the attorneys become that voice, or do you as a facilitator help them find a voice?
I think a really effective collaborative team, we all help that client find a voice, because we're really there for the greater good. We're really trying to help this family get to the other side. And remember, this is the spouse's perspective. It doesn't mean the other spouse is a narcissist. Doesn't even mean that it's narcissistic qualities. They could just be really triggered. But it really takes a team, and I think it takes all of us to work without ego and just with the passion and the commitment to helping this family survive this trauma that they're all experiencing.
Let's focus on the financial trauma and the trauma of knowing that your children are going to be in 2 homes and not one. What does that look like, and what do we as a team do to help our families get through that?
We have a really good neutral financial professional on the team. It's really hard, because it's not just the emotional trauma of giving up the family home. It's now lifestyles are changing. The kids are now it could be 2 new residences, maybe not at their family home at all. And again, split the homes, you're now increasing costs. And one spouse is maybe going to do better than the other financially. So there's the financial trauma of the spouse that can't take their kids on vacation, or has to take a much smaller residence than the family home they were all in together. And this impacts not only their pocketbook, but their self-esteem and their self-worth, and that impacts their parenting.
There's so much more we could go into, and I know we're reducing a 90-minute and what will be a 3-hour program at IACP into a 15-minute conversation. But if we could wrap up with how the professionals may be impacted by trauma in a collaborative divorce case.
Yeah, this is this is like a whole nother presentation, right? We all come in with our own stories, and we come into a collaborative process where we're now engaged in another family's story. And as a team, again, I said we have to be such a strong team. We have to help each other. We have to have the trust within each other to be able to disclose if one of us is being triggered, if something feels very close to home, if something's uncomfortable. We have to be able to trust that we can share that with the rest of the team and know that we will have the support of the team. One of the things that happens in divorce is the professionals become desensitized. They become desensitized to their client's pain, and sometimes they become desensitized to their own pain. And we really have to be in touch with it. We have to try to process it. Our team is not a therapist. It's not a therapy session, but we have to be able at least to speak about it.
Anything else you'd like to wrap up with?
Well, thank you for having me here today. I think this is a really important topic. I think it's not addressed enough. People don't necessarily think about the trauma that is involved in divorce. And I think in the collaborative process, we can prepare our clients that this is traumatic and this is a hard process and it is a hard time, but there's always the hope afterwards. There's another chapter, and we try to get them there.
Great, thank you. And let me close with saying that we hope you'll attend the My Collaborative Team program on unpacking your suitcase, trauma in the collaborative divorce process. Excuse me. At the IACP forum in October, we are presenting on Saturday at 2 o'clock. If you would like to be a guest on My Collaborative Team's CollaborEAT Lives, please write us at info@mycollaborativeteam.com. Rhonda, it's always a pleasure to get to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.